So the big news, the New York Islanders are coming back to Long Island. They will call Nassau County their home once again. The announcement expected to be made this morning at 11 a.m. By Governor Cuomo. There was an RFP for the land around Belmont, a request for proposal. 3 entities were interested. 1 dropped out early on. The 2 going into it were the New York Islanders group and the NYCFC, the New York Football Club, the soccer team that plays at Yankee Stadium. That was the other group. They were proposing a 26,000-seat open-air stadium. The Islanders proposing an 18,000-seat indoor arena. That was the major difference between these 2 proposals. Both of them had entertainment space. Both of them had retail space, open park space, of course, parking. All were in their proposals. The only other difference really was the Islanders were proposing a hotel to be really right in between the grandstand of Belmont Park and where the arena would be. And it looks like that's going to go through as part of the proposal. Now, they just were granted. They're going to be granted. This is all, we're getting word now that this is what Governor Cuomo is going to be announcing. So, exact details on what is really going to come to fruition is all down the road here. And it's awesome news for Islander fans. Me in particular, I'm super excited. Massive fan of the team. Have never gone to Brooklyn to see them play. Not out of stubbornness or, being sour, even though I was sour about it to a degree. It was just flat out convenience for me. I got a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old. Not easy to get out, take the train 2 hours, to get to Brooklyn and then 2 hours back and then get up and host the morning show. It just was never possible for me, really. Not a lot of Friday, Saturday games. So that amounted to years since I've seen my team play live. Now, preseason game this year, and I got to go see them at the Coliseum, brought the kids, which was a lot of fun. It was baby Snuggles' first game. He loved it. Now, fast forward to here we are today, and it looks like the Islanders are a done deal to come back. They'll announce the plans, I'm sure, about what the arena will look like, and we'll find out when construction will start and all that. But how does this affect music fans? And it affects in a big way. And again, the story today is the Islanders, and I don't want to take away from that, but being the music news people that we are here at EHM, I have to tell you, this is going to affect the landscape of music in a big way. For those of you who don't know, Scott Malkin and Jonathan Ledecky are the new owners of the Islanders. Charles Wong is now a minority owner. They decided to partner up with the Oakview Group. Awesome. Who's the Oakview Group? The Oakview Group is Tim Leiweke, who is a big-time executive, worked with the Toronto Maple Leafs for a while. He has a partner in an arena management group. His name is Irving Azoff. You may have heard of Irving. Very big time in the world of music and management and all kinds of things. I mean, Irving has worked with everybody from the Eagles and Journey, Van Halen, Lindsey Buckingham, No Doubt, Steely Dan. I mean, he's ingrained in music culture. He's ingrained. And Irving and Tim Leiweke got together on this Oakview Group, and they actually made an arena happen in Seattle, which looks like the NHL is going to expand over there. And the other thing that they were working on was this Belmont move. Now, part of their partners is the Wilpons, who own the Mets, and James Dolan, who owns the Rangers in Madison Square Garden. Now, Dolan, Irving Azoff, they're all in on this company. You may have heard of them, AEG. And they're in a battle with Live Nation. They're all been scooping up arenas, theaters, clubs all around the world. In New York City, we talked a lot about some of the properties that each one of them has been picking up. So they're not only competing with each other on a national scale, but they're even competing with each other in 2,000 and 3,000 seat, clubs and theaters in New York City. They're all positioning themselves for this huge battle in the music industry on all scales. Everything from the Eagles selling out arenas, down to the up and coming bands who are, selling 1,500 tickets. They're entrenched in this warfare together. Now, a little while ago, we talked about this thing that had come about between the two companies, where in London, you only have one big arena, the O2 Arena. Irving Azoff's company controls this, right? So they have London, they have the Forum in Los Angeles, not the Staples Center, the Forum, and they have Madison Square Garden in New York. So what was happening was they were going around to acts and they were saying, cool, if you want to play the biggest arena in London, the only real arena in London, then maybe it's a good idea you come and play the Forum instead of the Staples Center. And by the way, then we can fit you into Madison Square Garden at the same time. So depending on how these tours were breaking out for artists, they were going to where the venues were. They were lining up with these deals. Now, on the other side of it, Live Nation is turning around going, well, if you sign with us, you'll play all of these arenas and we'll put you up on these billboards that we own, on these radio stations, and so on and so forth. And that practice has been going on with Live Nation / Clear Channel when that was a thing. That is not as prevalent as it was, but still they're doing similar actions. And they're also involved with merchandising. They have these 360 deals where you sign with Live Nation and they handle your T-shirts and your websites and your, everything. They do everything for you. So there's this real battleground happening. Now, how this shapes out for New York, similar to those lines of Los Angeles, and London, but now suddenly take a look, Madison Square Garden, quite busy, not a problem anymore. You look at the Garden, you look at the available dates, the Garden's going to have the Rangers, the Garden's going to have the Knicks every year. So that alone is 80 nights out of the year, 81, 82 nights out of the year that's taken. Well, plus preseason, let's say roughly, and postseason, let's say roughly 100 nights both of those sports teams take up. That is now leaves you 260 days to book concerts into your arena. But hold on. You have the Ice Capades and Disney on Ice and Frozen on Ice and Lion King on Ice and all the things, Disney on Ice. And now that takes away, so your days you lose. Now, all of a sudden, you have another option for this company in this city. They no longer have to turn down acts because the Rangers are playing or because the Ice Capades are in town. They no longer have to do this, which is why the Islanders, coming from the 16,000 seat arena that Nassau Coliseum was, I found it particularly interesting that they were moving into an 18,000 seat arena, which is far bigger than what they probably need. And that is because of this very reason. This is another chess piece for this company waging its war with Live Nation in this battle to get their premium artists in their venues. The Garden doesn't have to turn somebody down because, look, the Belmont Arena is available. Now, here's the other thing to think about, too. You look at Madison Square Garden's competition. It's the Rock. It's the Barclays Center. Now they have two of the big boys in town. So it's really going to be Belmont and Madison Square Garden together, because who cares where they go? If you're Irving or you're James Dolan, it doesn't matter. You're getting a piece either way. Who cares where they go as long as they go into our arenas versus the Barclays Center? It's going to make life for the Barclays Center and the Rock in Jersey a little bit more difficult. I'm not sure who the Rock is really affiliated with, but I think it's going to make life more difficult for them. Where it's really going to become miserable is for the new Nassau Coliseum, because the folks who own and operate the Barclays Center run the Nassau Coliseum for Hempstead. How they're going to be able to compete with not one, but now two Madison Square Gardens, essentially, is going to be incredibly difficult. Incredibly difficult. Think about that. And NYCB Live has had a great run with all the shows they've had, Roger Waters and Paul McCartney, and they've had a great start as far as booking goes. But now there's going to be another kid in town, and they're going to have to deal with that on a big scale. And again, it's not just like they're competing with the Coliseum or with Belmont or Madison Square Garden, but they're going to be competing with the Forum and the O2 in London. As these acts come in, it's going to be really easy for them to be like, okay, yeah, we want to play London, and sure, we'll play the Forum instead of the Staples Center, and we'll play Belmont instead of Nassau Coliseum. It's just going to be a lot easier to route those tours. So your big-time touring acts, the Roger Waters, the Paul McCartneys, Bob Dylan, you might see them more opting for the Garden properties, the Irving Azoff properties, versus your Nassau Coliseums or your Barclays Center. So how that increases might be good for us music fans as it increases competition. We'll have to see, or it may hurt down the line because they're jacking up ticket prices because these two companies are fighting with one another. So there are definite, when you look at the behind the scenes and who's behind everything, there's not only implications for the sports world with the Islanders, but there are big implications for the music world and for touring as well. And a lot of people aren't going to be talking about that today, but I'm telling you, 6 months, a year, really, as soon as this arena in Belmont gets built, we're going to really see how this is going to affect the music industry based on who comes around and who tours. Now, if Roger Waters wants to do 2 or 3 nights, he doesn't have to worry about the Knicks or the Rangers because he can do them in Belmont, or he can do a night at the Garden and then do the next night at Belmont if he wants to do 2 nights in a row. What difference does it make? And now the AEG, Irving, James Dolan, Jonathan Ledecky, that consortium can, still reap the benefits and not worry about losing them to 2 nights that are open at the Coliseum, because that's the only thing the Coliseum really has going for it is it doesn't have any, steady tenants, so they can make themselves available a lot more for outside tours. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out and how it affects us ticket sale wise, ticket price wise, as these two companies continue to just build a chessboard out of, not only the world and the U.S., but specifically here in the number one media market, New York. So it'll be interesting to see how that all ties in.